Evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight on our lesson 5, based around developing skill. So considering we're 2 weeks into lockdown, I think everyone's looking really well. So you know me from the previous lessons. My name is Barry Scullion. So tonight's lesson, we're going to talk about different frameworks you can use with support skill development. And just with the address, the housekeeping. So just if you've got a mobile phone, just have it by your side, but have it on silent. And then microphones muted. There might be parts where it's interactive, you can get involved. And you'll need a pen and paper as well throughout the lesson. So our learning aims and outcomes for tonight. We want to understand skill and how we can define it. And then examples of using frameworks. So we'll touch on 2 frameworks that can support skill development. We're just going to show a quick video. So here we got Messi. So do you think this is skill? He's dribbling towards and around cones. This is the first clip. Or do you think this is skill? This is Messi in the game itself, dribbling past and around players. And then leading to a goal. So a poll will pop up on your screen now in a second. I just want you to click it. You've got about 10 seconds to click your answer. That's the question which is on the screen. Five more seconds. Perfect. Thank you. So a high majority of you selected the second video, which is Messi dribbling around cones. New Zealand football, this is New Zealand football's definition of skill. So I'll just let you read that. So I've highlighted constant. So that's really important. So it's the consistent ability to quickly select and execute the correct football action. So if I give you an example, let's say Caleb and Dave are passing the ball back and forth to each other, and it's quite consistent. But then if you introduce it into the game, so let's say Dave can pass it back and forth to Caleb, fine. But then when he goes into the game itself, the game situation, and he can't pass it, so he's got lots of more decisions to make, and he can't execute as well as he could without opposition, then he wouldn't be considered to be have skill in passing. So if we look at the first part of the framework, so developing football skill. So we've got P there. So I want you to imagine for a second, you're a player and you're on the pitch, football pitch, and you're standing there waiting for the referee to blow their whistle to start the game. And at first you're stationary. So when the referee blows the whistle, you immediately begin to move. What made you move at that speed in that direction? So, or if you imagine you're a player involved in a game of football and a teammate has just passed the ball to you, how do you decide what to do with it? So the P is for perception. So that's what you see or hear. So the key factors might be that it could be the ball, the opponent, space. So that's the signal from the eyes and the ears, and then that's processed by the brain, which is your perception. Then you've got your decision. So you've analyzed the situation or the communication you received. The information was processed, and then you've made a decision. So that's your decision through the brain. And then your execution is like you did something after receiving that information and processing it. So the brain sends a signal to the muscles, and then this is your execution. So the 3 stages of perception, decision, execution can be quite clearly distinguished, but they're interdependent. They cannot be separated. So we just give you a little visual now. So in the middle, you've got the football itself, the game. So how the player perceives the football situation. So on your right-hand side, you've got perception, what football action the player decides to perform, and then the quality of the football action the player executes. We're going to give you a little example now, a practical example, but I want you to think about as you're watching this. So that's your scale. You've got low, medium, or high. And then you're going to be thinking about the perception, the decision, and execution. There it is again, low, medium, high. So have a watch of this video. So the players are passing it back and forth. What's the perception and decision execution? So they're successfully passing it. Do they have much to perceive? Now there's a player running in between. Have they more decisions to make? Is the execution the same? And now the player can intercept it. So there's a nutmeg, it's added to creativity straight away. So that's the perception is starting to increase. And again, a little flick. So split to next page. So now you've observed the PD in action. So I know we only had a few players to give you that example. We are in lockdown. But I want you to reflect quickly on your own experiences recently as a player or as a coach. Just have a quick 15 seconds. So think about that practice I was in. What were the PDE levels within that practice? Now, if someone wants to share, they can turn on their mic. That'd be fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, probably a couple of weeks ago as a player, the perception, decision, and execution were pretty low to begin with. Probably stayed that way, just passing from one person standing still to someone on another line. So it's probably perception. You didn't really have to perceive much. There isn't any decision making. You're just going back and forth. So pretty low on that.
Pretty low.
Scale from before.
And in terms of enjoyment as a player?
Probably pretty low. It was mentally not that engaging. So yeah, not that great.
Okay, perfect. And on the next part of the slide, you've got, thanks for sharing, Kate, you've got questions. So when we're leading into lesson 6, which is your assessment, you've got to design a practice. So when you're designing that practice, I want you to think about what are the levels of PDE within my session design. And then that will link on to now we've got the practice spectrum. So it's a lot on the screen. I want you to just look at the bottom left where it says low and it moves up towards high. This will be something you can use as well within your practice design. So down on the left, you've got constant, which is like specific repetition, moving away from the game, less decisions to make. If you use variable, you've got a little bit of interference or opposition, so more decisions. And as we move up the scale towards random, that's more game-like. So the perception decision will be higher. And then if they can execute it within the game environment itself. So I'm just going to show you a little video again. So this is pretty quick. It's only like 8 or 9 seconds per clip. So here we have the first one. So it's constant. If you have a look, the players are just passing it across, then into the middle. So they're getting the repetition, not many decisions to make, they just receive it, turn and pass. The variable, now a player can step in and give them a little bit of pressure. So you have to perceive a little bit more. Execution is still high. And then that moves into random. So this is the game like lots more. PD is much higher within this, and then we have to see if they can execute those actions within the game itself. So again, another poll will pop up on your screen. There's multiple choice this time. So those are the questions. I'll give you about 30 seconds to answer it. So hopefully you should be seeing that now. Just wait on the last few coming in. Nice, well done. Top marks for everything, good stuff. So just in conclusion, if we think about skill in football, so if you think about the way practice is structured, affects whether how much skill or learning takes place. So the development of football skill is, let's say, like inseparable from the development of the perceptual expertise. If you think about the two frameworks that can be utilized, we just discussed the PD and practice spectrum. So training exercises which don't touch or challenge the perception. So Kate gave an example there of her practice where she didn't feel there was much perception or decision making. That will have very little value in preparing a player for the demands of the game. So having these high elements of PDE within your practice can accelerate the skill development within the player. And then have a think about, would you consider using these within your design yourself? Has anyone anything else they use if they want to share? That's open to anyone. Silence. So if you have a look at the screen, you can use your phone here to take a photo. We've got further reading, and we've got links on the top left. So we've got the coaching lab and football blog. So they're linked to around these topics if you wanted a little bit further reading. And then on the right-hand side, you can scan that QR code, will bring you straight to an evaluation sheet. It'd be great if everyone could complete that. Or if you want to use the link on the bottom left, that will bring you directly to the website itself. So just going to open it now to any questions. So if you'd like to ask any questions, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I've got one, Barry.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Just wondering, would anticipation be part of the PDE model?
Yeah, so anticipation. So you can call that reading the game or predicting what will happen. And to play at the top level, that needs to be something that needs to be high. So if you look at the PDE model, the skill of anticipation that will be developed within the perception and decision-making phases. So the player would analyze the situation and depend on what happened on the field, and then it can be based on prior experience or previous feedback, and then they will choose a plan of action. So say ahead of the game. So, but then if you link back to Kate's example, that process doesn't begin to happen in isolated practices. So you can't anticipate if you're not actually practicing it within the game. Any other questions?
Hey, Barry.
Go ahead.
Is that learning spectrum now just part of the curriculum, or is that a new introduction to
The practice spectrum?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just trying to get coaches to use that within their session design and just have it there, so it'll be linked in to help you design your activities moving forward. Caleb, are you going to ask something there?
Yeah, I did have my hand up. I was just wondering, so I've heard about block practice before. Whereabouts does that fit in the practice spectrum?
So block practice would be similar to the constant. So it'd be down in the constant aspect. So it'd be, if you think about the same technique as practice continuously, which is block practice in the same context, then the aim for us is to try and move toward random practice, which involves a number of different techniques in a game related context. Perfect. Again, thanks so much everyone for taking time out to be part of this lesson this evening. Can you please make sure you complete the evaluation form, and I will speak to you soon for lesson 6. Take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Barry. Okay.
Thanks, team.
Thanks, Barry.